Welcome back as we preview the NFL divisions before the draft. We got the NFC West on deck this week.
You're
This today. I'm
losing
Fernando
track
Ramirez.
already.
That's what
You're losing track already of the
I know.
divisions.
I know. There's so many divisions that you never think about it because you're like, oh, baseball has three. Everybody else kind of has a little bit, and football is like four. But I'm Fernando Ramirez. That's Gilbert Manzano. So now we're gonna break up. We're gonna do a division that Gilbert was familiar with for about a year, the NFC West. Gilbert, let's start off with the Arizona Cardinals. Do they stay at 3 and select the cornerstone edge rusher, if you will, or do they trade down for more picks because they do have so many needs and they could lose Buda Baker? They might. They're on the pay. It looks like they're going to lose DeAndre Hopkins. So, and Kyler Murray isn't going to be back till I think they said halfway through the year. So, what says you?
Yes, Fernando, I am a one-year expert of the NFC West. It was a great time. The Rams fell apart during my time there, and even the Cardinals, we could say, fell apart. So I
Big deal.
destroyed the entire division there. And yeah, I'm gonna say it. The Cardinals are a dumpster fire. They're awful. And if they get rid of Buda Baker, then they're really low on blue chip players or whatever Pro Bowl players, whatever you want to call them. So you have to trade down. And I think I've been going back and forth here, Fernando. And I think we gotta keep an eye on the minute here. I have, but you know, they need an edge rusher. And I really like Will Anderson, but you keep telling me Tyree Wilson, this guy has good upside too. So it depends. You got to trade down and get more draft picks to help out the entire roster where a lot of holes there. But I think it starts with an edge rusher. So I think you play out the board and say, hey, maybe Tyree Wilson might be there at number 6 or maybe number 5. You trade with the Seahawks or whoever, or the Colts, but you trade too far down, you might lose on one of these top 2 guys. So definitely trade down, but it's a little tricky there, Fernando.
The hunger is there, obviously. You're gonna want to make moves. So I could see the Cardinals staying there and taking their cornerstone guy. I know they have other places they need to select guys. I know that they have so many positions they need, but you need to get after the quarterback, especially in this division, especially in the NFC as a whole and the whole NFL. You're gonna have to get after the quarterback. Why not select a guy that could be your cornerstone for the next few years? You lost Chandler Jones. You don't have him. I mean, obviously, he went to the Raiders last year. JJ Watt has now retired. So you don't have that premier pass rusher. And I think, and they lost somebody to the Broncos, one of your boys. So definitely,
Oh yeah,
I think
Zach
Allen.
Allen.
Yep. So I think they do need some help. So I'd say stay there, get a pass rusher, and try and get after the quarterback and start slowly trying to build your team. Jonathan Gannon, obviously defensive minded head coach. I could see him staying there and drafting a pass rusher with the 3rd overall pick.
Look at you, right on time.
Yeah, always. Don't, I'm never late, especially for dinner. So Gilbert, obviously, the team that you covered, the Los Angeles Rams. Gilbert, this team, it seems like they have a lot of different their offensive line. They've lost Jalen Ramsey, they lost Bobby Wagner, Nick Scott. The offensive line's a mess. Allen Robinson has been now traded. So what do you say? Do you think the Rams focus on offensive line? And again, for the probably the 10th year in a no, for the 7th or 8th year in a row since Sean McVay took over as the head coach, they do not have a first round draft pick. So with their so do you think they need to focus on the offensive line with their day 2 picks, Gilbert? Is that where you think they should stick to?
I don't think so, Fernando. And I'll give you a little sample here because I'm gonna give away a little bit because we're gonna do a full preview of House of Horns. I actually did my research on all these day 2 possibilities, and I kept going back to yeah, the offensive line needs a lot of help, but you gotta give some kind of production at edge rusher, and it's tricky, Fernando, because they're picking 36 there. So obviously they were like 4 or 5 there, or because there's 31 picks in the first round, so they're about 5th or 6th, whatever it is. My math is terrible, Fernando, and I think that edge rusher run might go on the back end. Like it'll start off early and then it'll go again. And then like by the time you're like, okay, you want to get an edge rusher because you really need that because Fernando, you probably can't even name these guys on the depth chart right now. It's a premium position. It's one of the best positions you got to have and fill, but they don't have that if the run's over. So maybe you go offensive line there, but I think you got to focus on maybe getting an edge rusher, one of the top ones there.
Matthew Stafford got hit so many times last year. I think he suffered 2 concussions. He was on the floor a lot. I understand where you're going with all that stuff, but I think they need to focus on offensive line. I think if your quarterback is getting banged around, especially with some of the pieces that they have now lost, you need to have at least your quarterback be able to stay upright. And I feel like that's what one of the things that the Rams haven't been able to do. And I think the Rams were able to mask that when they had Andrew Whitworth there. But ever since Andrew Whitworth left, it's just been a mess. And I think that's one thing that they're going to need to do. If not, Matthew Stafford isn't going to last very long, and he could call it quits after the season, especially if what I think is going to happen happens where they have a bad year and Sean McVay decides, you know what, I'm done. Matthew Stafford could say, hey, I either want to be traded or I'm done as well. So I think they need to protect Matthew Stafford. Obviously, you got to get him more weapons because I know they have Van Jefferson, they have Cooper Kupp, they have some good weapons, but you need to get them a little bit more weapons. So I would say offensive line is key for the Rams coming up in this draft.
We have to. They lost Allen Robinson too. Like they're really thin on these weapons here. So
They
yeah,
really are.
it's a bad
And
team
there's
overall, Fernando.
there's inexperience also. It's like Cooper Kupp and then a lot of inexperience. And it's not like it's the Chiefs where you have Travis Kelce and a lot of different like no names where they could actually make some stuff happen. No, Cooper Kupp might get doubled at times and they could take him away. And it's like Matthew's not going to have anywhere else to go with the ball. So it's going to be, and if you're having to get it out quickly, it's going to be a mess. Gilbert, a team that surprised a lot of people last year, the Seattle Seahawks. They came out of nowhere. They ended up no, they didn't make they made the play. Yeah, they made the playoff. They played San Francisco. They give Geno Smith that brand new contract. They have the 5th overall pick. Fernando, how do they have the 5th pick if they made the playoffs? Remember, this is from the Russell Wilson trade where
team 3. Just say it, Fernando.
3. So Sierra. So obviously this was a part of that trade. They had the 5th pick in the draft. Gilbert, is this Tyree Wilson or Will Anderson, or could the Seahawks go in a different direction? Maybe a cornerback.
I'm not gonna backtrack here. I'm just gonna say this: if at number 5 and Anthony Richardson is there right there for the taking, yeah, Geno Smith is nice, but he's not gonna be your your long-term answer. He might give you 2 years or whatever, and then let Richardson, develop the fundamentals and get some accuracy going. What was that? Yeah, the man crush
continues.
And it's funny because people are starting to get away from Richardson for some reason. It's always back and forth in this draft season, but I'm gonna continue. I love the upside, the speed, the size, the arm strength. So let Pete Carroll develop the guy. He loves the guys who are like all these toolsy players with size and athleticism. So I say you go for Richardson, but yeah, they're in a good spot for him because at 5th, say another team trades up and it's the first 4 could be quarterbacks, maybe for sure 3 out of 4 would be quarterbacks. You're there picking whoever you want for the non-quarterback prospects. So they're in a good spot there, the Seahawks.
A couple of years ago, I remember the draft started. I remember that famous draft, the Carson Wentz, Jared Goff, and then the Chargers started it with Joey Bosa. That's what this draft kind of feels like. It could start with the Seahawks, the draft of everybody else after the quarterbacks are taken. But I really do think they had Uchenna Nwosu, former Charger last year, who had 10.5 sacks for them. Can you imagine Uchenna Nwosu and maybe Tyree Wilson or Will Anderson on the opposite side? You're going to have a solid pass rush, and we know that defense needs help. So I really do think that if they're able to get one of these 2 guys to help with their defense, man, that defense is going to get even better. Obviously, they had some corners, Kobe Bryant. They had some other guys that really stepped up at times last year. And I really do think that the Seahawks would really hit a home run with this top 5 draft. I mean, them and the Eagles to have 2 top 10 draft picks, or each have a top draft pick when they made the playoffs, is just fool's gold. So I definitely think the Seahawks should go with one of these guys if they're there.
Real quick, because it says or corner here, I'm kind of intrigued by it because imagine that they compare or add Kobe Bryant. So we're to say Kobe Bryant, Tariq Woolen, and a Christian Gonzalez. Like that's gonna be it could be the Legion of Boom all over again because it's a pass heavy league. I wouldn't hate that, by the way, if they go corner and surprise people.
And you know what's interesting? Jamal Adams is still there. I wonder if they're gonna move on from him because he's been injured. He's been kind of weird being there. I know they like Quandre Diggs. Quandre Diggs has been a solid contributor for them, but I'm just
by the way, they traded 2 first-round picks for a safety not too long ago.
And a safety that everybody believed was better than Derwin James. So at one point, so definitely some interesting stuff there.
Seahawks fans are probably like, why are you taking shots at us right
now? Gilbert, and no, we like, hey, you guys have, hey, look what you guys did. You guys traded a quarterback that you guys thought maybe he's on his last legs for all these draft picks. And look, now you have a 5th overall pick. Kudos to you guys. You guys were smart. Gilbert, let's go now a little bit down. Well, it's up for us, but down from Seattle to San Francisco. Now, San Francisco doesn't have any draft picks until the third round. Why? Because they traded for Trey Lance. They traded up in the draft for Trey Lance, and their second round draft picks is kind of like the movie Draft Day. They traded their second round draft picks for Christian McCaffrey, the running back. So, Gilbert, did they make the right moves trading for Trey Lance and CMC?
It's a tough answer because if you look at the overall, like the success, the roster, they're still pretty stacked there, Fernando. But can I say like half no? You know what? I'll give you an answer. No, because they didn't get it right with Trey Lance. I feel like I know I'm being harsh. You got to still see the kid, but he lost his job to Brock Purdy, and it's gonna be a Brock Purdy show when he comes back. So that kind of tells you traded 2 first-round picks for Lance, who might not even get a fair share. Like it's kind of like, hey, keep the seat warm and then get out of here, dude. And then with the CMC thing, it's like there's a lot of pressure because they gave a running back, they traded a lot of good picks for a running back, and he has a massive contract. And they have a lot of holes like in the secondary. They let some good players go in free agency, so like they need to retool quickly. And when you don't have the draft picks, it might hurt you. So like I know like the 49ers are still stacked, but like when you trade so many first round picks, like the good teams kind of reload through the draft. The 49ers don't have the option, so we'll see. They're still good, but it's just a really risky for them.
I I agree with you just because of man and that's why I don't like when people are like, oh well, Trey Lance is upside, his this is that. Dude, he barely played in college. Like I think he played like only like a handful of games or like 8 games or something, or maybe even less than that. And people fell in love with his intangibles. But the thing is, he just looks like a deer in the headlights. And I know we haven't seen him all that much, but he just looks lost when he's out there. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how he improved this year. But as of right now, I'm with you. I say no just because of him, but because you gave up first rounders for him. On the other side, Christian McCaffrey's been great for you. He can catch, he can run, he can do just about everything that you ask him to do. So I think he's been great. His move obviously is an A+, and I think they've gotten great production out of him. But the Trey Lance is what brings this grade down and doesn't make it the right move just because you did it on the most crucial position, which is the quarterback position. But folks, that's all we got from the NFC West. Don't forget to check out the other divisions that we've done. We will be doing a lot of these heading up into the draft. So don't forget every single division, the Compas will break them down. Don't forget to tell a compa, be a compa, tell a compa about what the Compas are doing.